In 2010, Angry Birds was unstoppable. They had games, merchandise, and the ambition to become the next Disney. And back then, we all believed their massive success would last forever. But beyond the horizon was a game that was about to break the app stores. A franchise so large it would grow to 3 times the size of Angry Birds, reach over 40 billion views on YouTube, and gain more active players than any other mobile game for the next 10 years and counting. It might have even influenced how Supercell make their mobile games, but we'll get back to that. The name of that game is Talking Tomcat, but it wasn't even made by a games company. So how did this Tamagotchi-like virtual pet simulator stumble into mobile game virality? And did they really have a secret deal with Disney? This is the mind-blowing story of the Angry Birds killer Talking Tomcat, the game the world underestimated.
You better watch out, little birdie!
It's Christmas of 2009. After 3 failed app releases for the iPhone in just 6 months, the high school sweethearts Samo and Isa Login are at a crossroads. Should they continue making apps and hope for a stroke of luck, or move into digital toys and mobile games? With a team of 6 friends, they had launched their own company, Outfit 7, earlier that summer with the help of $250,000 of their own savings. But if things didn't turn around soon, that money would be completely wasted. Ultimately, they decided to start working on a Tamagotchi-inspired virtual pet simulator that would later come to be known as Talking Tomcat. So they opened up their computers, went to the internet, and bought a model for the game's main character, Tom the cat, off of the 3D stock website TurboSquid. Of course, back then they had no idea that this $90 asset would soon be the star of a billion-dollar franchise. But Samo and Isa knew that in order to succeed in the increasingly oversaturated App Store, they had to do something different, something unexpected. At this point, games like Plants vs. Zombies, Cut the Rope, Fruit Ninja, and even Gameloft's first-person shooter Nova had already released, and I remember that silly fart and drinking apps were everywhere on the App Stores. Yet the idea that Samo and Isa came up with had never been seen before in a mobile game. They took advantage of the microphone in the new iPhone to let players record a phrase that Tom would then repeat back in a fun high-pitched voice. And crucially, you could then easily share a recording of that via YouTube, email, or text message, a feature that would soon blast the game into virality. In June of 2010, after months of hard work, Samo and Isa were finally ready to release Talking Tomcat on the iOS App Store. But with a tiny marketing budget of just a few $1,000s, all they could really do was just wait and see what would happen. Would this be the app that finally succeeded, or would it lead to the eventual downfall of the company they had risked everything to build? The answer they received was resounding. Everyone loved the game, and players quickly started sharing their funniest moments with friends and strangers on YouTube. This was exactly the success the struggling startup had hoped for. You might think that at this point they would just focus on adding new features to the game and basically try to milk it for profits. But instead, the team immediately began working on new games, and just 6 months later, on Christmas Day in 2010, Talking Tom generated over $200,000 in revenue in just 24 hours. Angry Birds may still have been the king of mobile gaming, but things were about to change forever. Because while the gameplay features of this first Talking Tom game were extremely limited, none of that mattered. The game was taking off, and the franchise would soon dethrone Angry Birds, with the help of a secret ally. Samo and Isa knew they had struck gold with Talking Tom, and they were more than ready to make the most of it. Simply put, they started churning out Talking Tom games faster than your sweet old grandma can knit a sweater. So throughout 2010 and 2011, while Rovio only released 2 Angry Birds games, Outfit 7 developed more than 15 games in the Talking Tom and Friends franchise. Most of these games received millions of downloads, but more importantly, they helped introduce new characters to the franchise. Talking Ben the dog, Gina the giraffe, Rex the dinosaur, the list just kept growing. And that is when Samo and Isa got an idea that would change everything. Since these games were basically clones of each other and took very little time to develop, Outfit 7 could strategically use them to test which characters players best connected with. And if their strategy proved correct, they would also be able to get each user to download multiple games, one for each of the characters they had fallen in love with. This idea was spot on, and the downloads soon started skyrocketing. The games and characters that performed well got to stay around, while those that failed to resonate with players got removed from the app stores. A strategy that Clash of Clans developer Supercell would soon become famous for adapting for their own games. During this time, they also started testing variations to the gameplay, such as with Gina the giraffe, which for the first time included a set of 42 levels you could complete. This was all in stark contrast to Rovio, who did everything in their power to ensure that every single game was a massive success, even if that meant releasing very few games. So while Outfit 7 slowly turned into a mad scientist constantly experimenting with different gameplay and character variations, Rovio was too afraid of failure. And that's exactly why things were soon about to go downhill for Angry Birds. By the end of 2011, Talking Tom Games had a combined player base of well over 100 million monthly users. Rovio did still tower that at 263 million, but Talking Tom had yet to play their best cards, a secret deal with Disney. To beat Rovio, Samo and Isa had to move fast, so in December of 2011, they announced a series of merchandise based on Talking Tom, including collectibles, plush toys, and footwear. But it was actually a few months after that, in March 2012, that they truly surprised everyone. You see, behind closed doors, the team at Outfit 7 had been secretly negotiating a deal for a Disney-produced TV show that would air on Disney's official YouTube channel. With over 1 billion total views, these videos were a massive success, which only accelerated Talking Tom's growth. And most importantly, it all happened several months before Rovio had time to launch their own animated show. Outfit 7 was finally starting to get ahead, and it must have really scared Rovio. The Disney-produced show would only last for 10 episodes, but there was clearly a potential here, and when Outfit 7 would later launch their own Talking Tom and Friends show, this time without Disney, it would go on to gain 40 billion views on YouTube and get translated to over 12 different languages. At this point, everyone knew who Talking Tom was. The games had taken over the app stores, the animated show dominated YouTube, and the franchise, as a whole, was on track to overtake Angry Birds in popularity. And by 2015, it actually happened. Outfit 7 and Rovio both hit 3 billion total downloads, but while Rovio was on the decline, Samo and Isa were just about to become the richest people in Slovenia thanks to a Chinese chemical company. When 2017 rolled around, the success of the animated show and the, at this point, 35 different Talking Tom and Friends games had catapulted the franchise to almost 350 million monthly players. Meanwhile, Rovio's animated show never took off in the same way, and while they had tried to catch up by releasing 26 games since 2009, they now only had 86 million monthly players, a staggering 75% less than the Talking Tom franchise. When you boil it down, Rovio's issue is that their birds all felt lifeless. They had no character, no personality, and it was difficult to really care about them. The Talking Tom characters, on the other hand, all had clear likes, dislikes, friends, and even birthdays. You knew who they all were and you cared about them, just like you care about the characters in your favorite sitcom. And that is exactly why a Chinese chemical company came knocking on Outfit 7's doors in 2017. With them, they had a contract that would make Samo and Isa the richest people in all of Slovenia. All they had to do was sign, and they would officially sell their company for $1 billion. Later that year, it was announced that the deal had gone through and Talking Tom was now owned not by a games company or an app company, but by a producer of chemicals that was looking to diversify. And it wouldn't take long before these new owners' master plan for the franchise became obvious. You see, at this point, casual games had taken over mobile, and the new owners were not gonna let Talking Tom fall behind on that trend. So from now on, Outfit 7 was going to copy other popular games and integrate their gameplay into the Talking Tom franchise. In a matter of just a few years, this meant we got 2 Subway Surfers clones, 2 Candy Crush alternatives, a side-scrolling Endless Runner, and many other casual games, all in the Talking Tom franchise. Thanks to the loyal fan base that Samo and Isa had built up, this strategy was a massive success, and now, in 2023, the Talking Tom franchise has amassed over 18 billion downloads, leaving Rovio in the dust with their measly 5 billion. When My Talking Angela 2 released in the summer of 2021, it even got 120 million downloads in its first month, a record only beat by giants like Pokemon Go, Call of Duty Mobile, and Mario Kart. So what actually happened to Angry Birds? These days, the Talking Tom games are much more complex, with several minigames, clothing options, and lots of other gameplay mechanics. And the company still invests in new animated shows for their many YouTube channels that provide free advertising for their mobile games. And that's exactly why Talking Tom has been the largest mobile gaming franchise for a decade now, even beating games like PUBG Mobile. Samo and Isa built more than just a games company, they built a media empire. Rovio really did try their best with multiple games and even a big-scale Hollywood movie, but we just never truly connected with their characters in the same way. And that's what ultimately led to their downfall. Because when the cat comes out, the birds better run.